Let's get on with it. Let's learn this alphabet thing. The Greek alphabet, as you'll find out, is not all that different from the Latin alphabet. And if you're imagining that it's going to be some huge task that only a genius could achieve, please remember that when you were 4 or 5 or 6, you learnt the English alphabet. It's not a huge intellectual deal. It does involve some concentration and practice. Let's get on with it. Here are 5 easy Greek vowels. Greek has vowels, right? And here you go. They're like ours. Ah, that even looks like an A, pretty much. It's pronounced ah, as in claw. It's alpha, ah. And this, no surprise, is an eh, as in red or bed. Here's an iota, our I. Notice that it doesn't have a dot over it, please. No dots on the iotas. It's pronounced E, as in our word sing, ing, E. Here's an O, pronounced O. It's omicron. And there's this strange letter U. Its name is upsilon, and it's pronounced, as I said, something like U, kind of a U sound with the lips pursed a bit, U. When U occurs in a diphthong, you'll find it written in English words. When an upsilon occurs in a diphthong, you'll find it written, transliterated, in an English word as a U. You'll know this and have noticed this in words like euthanasia or euphony, EU, epsilon, upsilon. When the upsilon is its own vowel, you'll find it represented in English words that when we borrow a Greek word and bring it into English, we'll turn that solitary upsilon vowel into a Y. And so you will have seen it in words like hubris and lynx and analysis. Here are 2 more Greek vowels, and they will pose some difficulties because they look like something else. This letter looks like our N, and our instinct is to pronounce it N. And this one looks like a W, and our instinct is to pronounce it W. But in fact, this symbol is used to encode the long E sound, and this symbol is used to encode the long O sound. What is meant by long in Greek is not what we mean when we call a vowel long in English. We mean something qualitative when we speak about long vowels in English. At least in the case of E, a short E sounds one way, red. And a long E has a qualitatively different sound to it. E, not but E, as in read. That's not what long and short mean in Greek. In Greek, it's very simple. Short means you pronounce it 1 beat, and long means you pronounce it 2 beats. So, the epsilon is pronounced the eta is pronounced 1, 2, That's a long E in Greek. The omicron, the short O, omicron, you hear it, micron, omicron, little o, is pronounced O. Omega, hear it, mega, big O, omega, is pronounced O. 2 beats. So, these 2 long vowels are represented by symbols that we don't use to represent vowels in English, but they did in Greek. This one eta represents e. This one, omega, represents o. Now, diphthongs. Diphthongs are vowel combinations that are pronounced as a single sound, as a single syllable. In Greek, the diphthongs are all terminate either in iota or in upsilon. The nice thing about Greek diphthongs is they're pronounced just as they should be. You'd think that this is a hurried up I, and that's just how it's pronounced. I. And this one is a. And this one is a, long epsilon, the eta, e, a. Oi, we, oi. A little longer, the omega, than the omicron. And over here, ow, ew, ew, o. Occasionally, on a Greek, what would otherwise be a Greek diphthong, you'll find a diaeresis, a dividing mark, which is a double dot. You'll find it located over the second vowel of what would otherwise be a diphthong. And what that diaeresis means is, don't pronounce this as one syllable, a diphthong. Instead, pronounce it as two separate syllables, two separate vowels. So, if you come across this, alpha iota, without a diaeresis, it's pronounced I. If you come across it this way, with a diaeresis, it's pronounced ai, two syllables. Similarly, ow, but au. Oi, but oi. Our spelling conventions used to do this with words that bring together two O's, for instance. So, the word coordinate used to have a diaeresis over the second O to tell us not to pronounce that coordinate. We did the same thing with cooperate to tell us not to pronounce it cooperate. And we still do it with naive to tell us not to pronounce it knave.